When the initial conflict broke out, the global assumption was that the violence would stay strictly contained. The international community expected localized, manageable tensions, characterized by highly targeted strikes across established borders. That assumption shattered within months. Active military operations spread rapidly, opening dangerous new fronts along the Lebanon border and deep within Syrian conflict zones. The fighting then evolved from a territorial dispute into a physical blockade of global commerce, with armed groups specifically targeting cargo ships navigating the Red Sea. History shows a clear pattern. When fighting jumps borders and opens multiple fronts simultaneously, the original participants lose the ability to control the destruction. For decades, the United States relied on a specific mechanism to freeze conflicts and isolate hostile actors: economic sanctions. This chart shows how those blockades are currently functioning. You can see Western sanction boundaries in place, but millions of barrels of restricted oil are routing around the blockades to reach unauthorized buyers. The restrictions are being ignored. To process these unauthorized transactions, buyers and sellers are building alternative international payment networks. They are successfully bypassing the US dollar to settle their debts. When nations figure out how to trade outside the dollar system, their political alliances often shift away from Washington's influence as well. These financial bypasses signal a structural decay in global oversight. The nations that traditionally dictated the rules of engagement have lost their leverage, leaving behind a highly volatile geopolitical vacuum. With traditional enforcement out of the picture, new and highly opportunistic alliances are rushing to fill that empty space. We are now seeing reports of defense cooperation discussions between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. Pakistan is a nuclear-armed state, and the Shaheen-3 missile system shown here represents significant military capability. An agreement between a wealthy Gulf powerhouse and a heavily armed South Asian military links two distinct regions. It threatens to scramble the existing power balance in both areas at once. If more nations lock themselves into these emerging sides, a localized dispute graduates into a catastrophic bloc versus bloc confrontation. Caught in the crossfire of these emerging coalitions is India. It is a massive, rising economic power navigating an incredibly tight geopolitical tightrope. New Delhi faces impossible trade-offs. First, it relies heavily on Israel for advanced defense technology and crucial agricultural innovations. At the same time, India requires staggering amounts of imported oil to keep its cities running, maintaining a critical energy dependence on Middle Eastern nations like Saudi Arabia. Furthermore, India's physical trade links to Central Asia and Europe run directly through Iranian infrastructure, relying on vital cargo ports and shipping vessels. To survive these contradicting dependencies, India has adopted a strict doctrine known as strategic neutrality. In practice, this means securing the country's daily oil supply while prioritizing immediate operations to evacuate thousands of Indian citizens from active conflict zones. This neutrality is a calculated maneuvering strategy required to prevent a total domestic economic meltdown. Because of these high stakes, the international community is scrutinizing every move New Delhi makes. India possesses a very rare diplomatic asset. It is one of the only major nations that still maintains functional, open dialogue with almost all of the warring factions. Global powers are requesting that India use this unique position to act as a stabilizing mediator and help keep global trade routes open. India is now the vital balancing power keeping the international system afloat. Looking forward, two paths are visible: a rapid escalation where more nations are pulled into a wider war, or a grueling, grinding stalemate. There is a third possibility: a negotiated peace pushed by global pressure. However, with diplomatic trust severely eroded across the board, achieving that outcome is increasingly difficult. This conflict has accelerated a real-time realignment of global power. As traditional enforcement mechanisms lose their grip, the stability of the global economy relies on how multipolar balancing powers, like India, navigate the ensuing chaos.